let's just anchor in margins for a bit because that's where it all comes down to, right? And we all talk about this a lot that cannabis has some of the thinnest margins. Thank you 280E, state and local taxes, right? Like all these things that start to take a part of every dollar we make and don't let us write off any of the dollars we spend. All those things are already add up. So like that's the current state, right? Then you have price compression in certain markets where that's going to reduce margins there. Um, I'll just throw out one thing too. I find that sometimes retailers don't have a good grasp on their current margins, period. You talk about like Keystone pricing, like, okay, wholesale pricing is $1, retail MSRP is $2. We talk about excessive discounting as one of the biggest margin eroding things. I've seen reports even recently, even in the last week, I've seen reports coming from retailers. We show margins in our tool, and we show margins at a lot of different levels, and it's really cool, right? It's not just like the margin on the SKU or the margin on the store. We let you walk your whole inventory so you can see what's my overall margin on 1 gram infused pre-rolls across every brand. Okay, let me zoom in. What's my margin on this specific brand's 1 gram infused pre-roll? Okay, what's my margin on the sativa? I doubt your margins are that different on classification base, but you can kind of walk and slice and dice your inventory and understand those margins. And a lot of times when we present data, we get pushed out. This is wrong. Oh, that can't be right. I can't have a 37% margin. I have a 50% margin. It's wholesale. And it's like, well, we're calculating margin post discount pre tax. We're calculating margin on what are the dollars you get to live off of, which everybody has to understand, right? When you come to pay your bills, the only thing that matters is the dollars that went back into your bank account after you sold the product. You don't get to keep any of the tax, and you definitely don't get to keep any of that discount. And so we'll see stores, where the margins are in the 30s already today. We'll see like good stores in that low, I would say, to upper 40% range. Different markets are different,
Mhm.
but like getting 50% margin is actually getting increasingly rare already. So if you planned your whole business on, a 50% margin or better, I think you're already scrapping for dollars. So like, where do
And I
these
think
things
the
come
same,
from?
Dan, not to interrupt, the same is true for
Yeah.
brands, right? Like sometimes with so many changing costs and different variables, right? Unless you have the infrastructure to really be diligent about using and implementing an ERP as it's really truly a tenant, put everything into it, they also are sometimes don't have the true sense of what the margins are after they've given
Hmm.
discount pricing or bulk pricing or various incentives or things of this nature, right? Plus cost. So I think it's still a struggle there. And it ties back to like, as operators, if you are not really shored up on your cost accounting and in some of your margins, right, then this can exacerbate a much broader problem, right? When you think about,
Yep.
okay, a take rate or a tariff or something implemented, what's our packaging cost? If we don't know those really, really well, now it's going up. Are we eating that into our margin, not realizing, or are we passing too much on? I mean, there's a lot that goes into that on the same side, right, from the brand just as much as the retailer, you know?
Yeah, it's a whole supply chain, right? I think that's an important part here, and bringing it back to the specific fees on hand, right? We understand that. I think to start, that's primarily on the brands, from what we're hearing, right? Is it starts there, and I'll just say, when we're talking about fees and you're talking about cost increases, there's a place it starts, and I think it would be a bit naive to say that's where it ends. So I think that that's a big part of this discussion is what is there to give where, who picks up the tab,